The applicant wishing to speak before either committee must fill out a registration slip, which can be found outside either of the doors. You can turn them in here at the desk. Yeah. Anybody else with a yellow slip? Thank you. Good evening, everybody. We'll get this meeting for the Board of Adjustments. I'll call this meeting of the Waushara County Board of Adjustments to order. This meeting will begin with a public hearing. Anyone other than the applicant or the representative wishing to speak must register and submit the registration slip to the zoning administrator at this time. Following the public hearing, the board will conduct its monthly business meeting, at which time we will vote on the applications. You may stay for the meeting and hear how the applications are decided, or you may leave following the hearing. The applicant and town board will be sent a copy of tonight's decision. Any other person wishing to receive a copy of a decision can sign the sheet on the table at the front of the room. Those of you wishing immediate knowledge of the outcome of these proceedings may call the county zoning office tomorrow morning. The procedure we will follow for hearing each application. After each application is read, the applicant, their agent or representative will have the opportunity to present their application, followed by any questions or comments from the board. Then all correspondence will be read. Then others in favor will have a chance to speak. Anyone objecting will then have a chance to speak. I will then ask for a summary of the board's fields observations and any staff comments. Finally, the applicant will be allowed a chance for a brief rebuttal if they wish. Anyone wishing to speak should use the microphone here at the podium, state their name, and direct their comments to the board. I ask that all testimony be kept brief and to the point. If you are testifying as a nearby landowner, please tell us where your property is located relative to the subject property. Tonight's hearing will be recorded, and the recordings will become part of the record. Comments that are based on hearsay, secondhand information, as well as slanderous or prejudicial remarks will be ruled out of order. The board has looked at all the properties, and the record will reflect these observations. Any person affected by an administrative decision of this board has 30 days from the filing of tonight's decision to make an appeal. Such appeal shall be heard by the Waushara County Circuit Court. Information is available from the Clerk of Court's office and qualified legal counsel. The county assumes no liability, makes no warranty as to the legality of any construction commenced prior to the expiration of this 30-day period. I'll now introduce the board. Jess Irvin, John Bentz, George Peterman, John Shirk. I'm Kevin Fitzgerald, and our zoning administrator, Todd Waller. Variance for the Board of Adjustments. The first one and only one for us tonight is Deborah Gall, Fredonia, Wisconsin. Has made an application for a variance in accordance with sections 58-235, sub B, sub 5, sub A, and 58-542, sub C, sub 2 of the Waushara County Zoning Code to construct a 14-foot by 11-foot 7-inch by 13-foot by 26-foot addition, as well as an 8-foot by 26 covered deck on the north side of an existing non-conforming dwelling. Non-conforming due to existing structure being located less than half the distance of the required 15 feet from the south lot line and being located 52 feet from the center line of Third Drive, 63 feet required. Total improvements to exceed maintenance and repair of the existing non-conforming structure located in RS20 single-family residential zone. The location, a parcel of land being part of government lot 4, lot A1, CSM 292, section 33, T18N, RO8E, Town of Coloma, fire number N302, Third Drive. Would the applicant or the representative please come forward?
Hi.
Please state your name.
Deborah Gall, and I don't live in Fredonia.
Okay,
It was a previous home.
all right. Tell us what you want to do there.
Okay, I purchased this property in 2019. It's a small 1-bedroom, 1-bath. My mother, I just sold her home in Cedarburg, and I moved my mother up to my home in Coloma. She's 87 years old, very well, she can take care of herself. But she's lived in her house 61 years, and I'm moving her to my house to a one bedroom. It's not sufficiently big enough for both of us. I'm trying to add an addition on another bedroom and living area, so she has her own space. Because right now she can manage in the small space, but as she gets older, I'm gonna need to be there with her to help take care of her. Plus my dwelling does not have any basement, so there's no stairs. She has to go up and down. It's all in one level. I'm just trying to keep my mother happy with the rest of her life she has in a comfortable area, and she likes it up here. So that is the reason why I would like to add the addition on. And I am not encroaching on my lot line with my neighbor. This was all the resort at one time, so all these were cabins in there. When they subdivided it into individual homes, they're too close to each other. The lot lines are close, so I have to be so far off the lot line. So I'm looking to build it on the north side of my home, which will not encroach anyone's lot line. It will not take up anyone's airspace. It does not violate anybody's view, because I do have a view of the lake from my front porch. And it does not block anybody's view. It actually does not even gonna be in anybody's way. And all my neighbors pretty much said they were fine with it.
I have some questions for you, and then the board members might have some questions for you. Has there been a recent survey?
Yes. And that has been submitted to the board.
So we know where the lot lines are, correct?
Correct.
Talk to the neighbors. You said you did?
Yes, there was only one neighbor that was opposed because we wanted to put it on the back side. And actually, we had checked into the codes and we were told 7.5 feet. And then found out later on it was 15. So that had to change, and he said, go ahead and put it on the side. So that's what we did. We took his advice and we moved it to the side.
I talked to the town about it.
Aren't you the town? Aren't you were you the county? I don't know who I would talk to in the town.
What time of, you're gonna put this on a slab?
It'll be on a slab with a fork.
State your name, please, if you're gonna speak.
Mel's McCullough.
In the microphone, please.
Mel's McCullough.
And it is gonna be on a slab?
Yes. Oh, no, I'm sorry.
I actually have the builder right here. If you wanted to ask him some questions, he could answer that.
Yeah, probably. State your name, please.
Carl Lehman.
Thank you.
It's gonna be on a 4-foot foundation
Okay.
with footings, and then there's probably a slab above that for the subcontractor.
How far above the existing grade?
It's gonna be anywhere from 6 inches to 1.5 feet.
How much filling or grading you're gonna have to do?
We're actually going, when we dig out the foundation, we're gonna haul some dirt away.
What's the finished height gonna be?
Of the top of the structure?
Yep.
About a foot higher than the existing.
So it's less than 35 feet, correct?
Pardon me?
Less than 35 feet.
Oh, yeah, we're talking 12 feet.
That's the magic number, 35 feet.
Okay, we're below that.
What about it? We're gonna have erosion or stormwater runoff
No,
problem?
no, not at all. The slant goes to the back of Deb's lot, and it's very minor. If there was anything at all, I put silt fence in, but I see no reason to even do that.
Silt fence during construction or not needed?
Not needed.
Any other improvements planned?
Not really?
Just the addition.
Setbacks gonna be met?
Yes.
The new construction will meet the setbacks, correct?
Yes.
How old's the septic system there?
This septic was just put in a year and a half ago.
Are there any non-conforming structures on the property? Other sheds too close to the lot lines or anything?
My property has the one bedroom house. It has a little cottage in the back, which is just a 1-room cottage. And then it has a 1-car garage, which is basically a shed. I also have an easement that goes through my property.
I was gonna ask you about that.
So the easement goes back to two houses behind me. And on my property, so I have a little bit of property on the opposite, across the easement, and I have a garage over there. That we, 22 by 45, that was built in 2021.
So the easement kind of restricts you on where you can build back further too, correct?
Yes. I have just a little over half an acre.
What other options do you have?
I'm moving. There is no other options. There's plenty of space on the side of my house. That's where most of my property is.
Yep.
I have no other options. I can't go up, I can't go back. The only other thing would be to sell it, move somewhere else.
Hardships and unique property limitations.
Pardon?
What are the hardships and property limitations?
The hardship is the living factor. It's not big enough for more than one person to live in right now.
It's below state code, isn't it?
Yes,
Okay. For square footage, it's below.
correct.
code. The unique property is, limitation is the easement through the property. Existing structure there.
Yeah, the limitation is the existing structure, yes.
This would be approved, you know what permits you would need?
Building permit. But it would require an electrical permit, building permit and electrical permit, plumbing, HVAC.
This would be approved. When would you like to start?
As soon as my builder is available.
Probably May or June.
I don't have any further questions, John.
Just for clarity, so Fredonia is not your address?
No, that was my address. I've sold that in 2021.
Okay, so your permanent address is on Third Drive, where
Correct.
you live now?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. Jess? John?
The garage you're talking about is that the 3-car garage, 3 doors on the other side of your property?
Correct.
Yeah, okay.
Yes. On the other side of the easement.
Yes.
Yes.
George, anything, questions?
I don't have anything.
I don't know, anybody else, nothing? Okay, we'll go to correspondence.
County has received no correspondence and we have nobody registered to speak.
Just want to have a seat quick up front here somewhere, and then we'll give you a rebuttal if you need it.
So I apologize. We have nobody registered to speak in favor, objecting, or for informational.
Information, I'll check staff comments.
Okay. Everyone should have a copy of the final staff report. I'd like to just go through kind of a little summary. The county maintains very little information on the original home, the garage, and the bunkhouse. This lot actually predates, the original lot actually predates Pleasant Lake Summer Resort, which was a subdivision just to the south, created in 1925. This property was subdivided in 1975 as part of CSM 292. As stated by the applicant, lot lines were basically provided, to cordon off each home that was out there or each cottage. As a result, the applicant's home is, and per the survey that you should have in your packets, the home sits at just 2.5 feet off that south property line. I did go out to the property in February to meet with the applicant and to discuss their future plans. At that time, they were proposing an expansion off the southeast corner, which would have increased the degree of nonconformity of the home. It is at that point that I had kind of discouraged the homeowner from doing that. Stated that that would set a very dangerous precedent, especially for an existing non-conforming home. And we talked about building off the northeast side. The other thing that I did do when I was out there is establish some setback lines. We did establish and flag the 15-foot setback line from the south property line. And then based upon adjacent properties, we also established an average setback for the for the home of where it should be, and that was 58.5 feet. Based upon the plans that you have before you, the applicant has basically complied with our recommendation, putting the home on the northeast corner, adhering to the front yard setback line from the front property, and then also adhering to the side yard setback. Once again, the only thing that we have permitted on that property is the garage that's up in the northeast corner. That came in a few years ago. As stated, there is also an easement that runs through that property. And I know at that time we had positioned that garage so that we at least allowed a 33 foot easement to continue through that property. And that was given the fact that my predecessor had also granted a land use permit for a garage on the adjacent property, also within that easement, so that it was kind of an agreement that we just maintain some maneuverability so that we get access to those properties. The board visited the property at the recent onsite on Monday, April 7th, and were generally supportive of the variance request. The board recognized the hardship being experienced by the homeowner and felt that Ms. Gull has gone to great lengths to design an addition that's not only sensitive to surrounding properties, but that it meets all applicable setbacks for the addition. And then also it should be noted that this will bring a small non-conforming cottage, non-conforming in the fact that it's only 700 square feet, where the county code minimum is 720 square feet. It'll bring the house more into compliance with county code. With the addition of the total footprint of the home will now be approximately 1,198 square feet. Still kind of quite modest by today's standards. Staff's reviewed this request and believes that the location chosen for the addition will not negatively impact surrounding properties. I did have a conversation with the adjacent neighbor. He was opposed at first to the addition being off the southeast corner, but once that it was moved away from his lot line, I haven't heard any more concerns or comments from that neighbor. While the percentage of the addition will be slightly larger than variances previously granted by the board, I just need to point out that one of the precedents that we always use and that was 67%. However, I'd like to point out that when we did that 67% for that other individual, it brought the house up to about 1,590 square feet. So this house would actually be less in terms of total area. The other thing too that's quite different from the other variance that was requested, this is not a lake lot, this is an internal lot. And also this lot maintains larger area just in terms of total gross versus that previous applicant that we've always cited, past precedents for variances. Given that, staff is recommending approval. We know that we'll make a recommendation on this later, but staff is recommending approval of the variance to construct the addition as shown on the north side of an existing non-conforming dwelling, as subject to the conditions that you have listed in your report.
On the diagram, we got on-site inspection report, then down in the right-hand corner, it says BH, is that bunkhouse?
Yes.
Is it a non-conforming structure?
It is an existing non-conforming structure.
Is it hooked up to sanitary?
It is. That sanitary permit was issued, I believe, 2 years ago. Yes, that sanitary permit was issued 2 years ago.
And how close to the lot line is it?
The bunkhouse, it's greater than 7.5 feet.
Is it considered a dwelling or is it considered storage?
It would be considered a dwelling, but an existing non-conforming dwelling.
Any questions of Todd? I have none. Hearing none. Deborah, do you need a rebuttal? If you like, do you have any questions or comments you want to talk to us about?
You do have a copy of the plans, right?
Yeah.
You can see what it's gonna look like. That's pretty much not gonna really, it's gonna look like it belongs there. You know, the way we designed it. And all the setbacks. And once it's done, it's gonna look nice. My mother's gonna be very happy, so.
Hasn't been approved yet. You gotta wait.
I'm just telling you. I didn't bring her here for that reason.
Can I add something?
Sure.
That bunkhouse in the back is only 3 seasonal, it's not 4 seasonal.
I'm sorry.
It's not a 4 seasonal bunkhouse. It's 3 seasonal.
That's all I have. Thank you. That'll conclude the public hearing. And we will go into our business meeting. Go to roll call. I was here. All accepted approval of the agenda.
Chairman, so move.
Second,
I'll second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passed. Approval of minutes from Monday's meeting.
So move.
Jess, second.
I'll second.
John Shirk, seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
New business action on public hearing. Is there a motion?
Yeah,
This,
Mr. Chairman,
Application.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve.
We have a motion to approve. Is there a second?
I'd second the motion.
Mr. Benz seconds it. Mr. Urban, your reasons for your motion for approval.
An unnecessary hardship is present and the current code requirements would be unnecessarily burdensome and prevent the applicant from using the property for permitted use because very few alternatives exist. The impacts of construction are being minimized by mitigation. A minimal relaxation of code is being granted. A permitted use is not possible on this property without a variance approval. The circumstances are beyond the control of the applicant and are unique to the property and not the applicant. The lot predates zoning regulations and the construction matches the lot and available area. The hardship and unreasonably burdensome limitation of setbacks is due to unique physical features or limitations of the property and not the circumstance of the applicant as follows. The home was built near or immediately adjacent to the side lot line. The home was built near or closer to the adjacent roadway. The variance will not harm the public interest or neighboring land uses and damage the intent of the zoning code because visibility is good at the driveway location, traffic is light, traffic is slowed here. The proposed use will not harm the public zoning code or neighboring land uses if conditions are followed. A literal enforcement of the zoning code would be unnecessarily burdensome. Therefore, the requested variance, if approved, the following conditions shall apply. The development must be in substantial compliance with the site plan and testimony provided at the public hearing. The first floor elevation and filling and grading shall be done in accordance with the site plan and additional information provided at the hearing. All other required setbacks must be complied with. All permits must be obtained, including land use, building, and sanitary if needed. All code requirements must be complied with. It is the responsibility of the builder and landowner to protect the neighboring lots and road during construction. Standard erosion control plans must be in place prior to construction starting. Any future construction cannot occur without first obtaining a variance. The driveway shall meet all code specifications and shall provide suitable turnaround to prevent backing onto the road. The applicant will allow agents of Waushara County access to the property to ensure compliance with the terms of this decision, Waushara County codes and state and federal laws. The landowner is responsible for determining lot lines and required setbacks. The building addition shall not be built to a height that is higher than any portion of the existing structure.
Thank you, Jess. The board has heard Jess's reasons for approval and there was a second. We'll take a roll call vote. George Peterman,
Yes.
John Benz, Jess Urban,
Yes.
John Shirk.
Yes.
The chairman votes yes. 5-0 for approval. Congratulations on your project. Good luck.
Everybody's clapping.
Okay, extensions of variances,
We have none.
map interpretations.
We have none.
Next month, I believe we have four
Correct. 4 variances.
variances for next month. So we'll see you then.
If you could too, I just want to let
Okay.
you know, I didn't do this at the last, I did provide at the end of your packets, just a comparison, land use permit comparisons As you can see from that, activity continues to be robust. Today, I signed off on 20 land use permits. So development is going gangbusters. So, and just to let you know too, Laura Johnson is retiring June 2nd. And we've already started the application process. We've already received a few applicants. So we'll get that process and hopefully we'll have a smooth transition in the department. So
Let us know if you're gonna have a little get together for.
we'll do.
Thank you. Anything else? Any questions of the board for Todd? Anything else? The business before us? Any appeal on the one from Morris Lake?
Oh, so Adniak is set up. We have a status hearing set up. I believe it is May 6th. Ruth and I at 8:45 in the morning. So it's just a status hearing. I would imagine at that point in time, just making sure all the documents are in possession of the courts. And then a date will be set up for a hearing.
Circuit, Waushara Circuit Court, or did it get bounced?
It's going back to Judge Hendy from Marquette.
Marquette County?
Oh, and also just to let you know, the appeal with the Bosch. Surprisingly, we have a status hearing next Thursday, the 17th. Ruth just thinks that because he's already given us a verbal. If you recall, Judge Hendy's wife became very ill, which apparently she's better now. But we have a status hearing and she thinks he's just gonna confirm his verbal to us and then we'll follow that up with written argument. But I will keep you guys, I will definitely let you know in terms of what comes out of that hearing.
Anything else?
That is it.
Thank you, gentlemen, for being here.
Motion to adjourn.
Yes, I'll second.
Second, all those in favor? Pass.
Thank you.
Yep.
No, I can.
See ya.
See ya.
All right, I will call this meeting of the Waushara County Planning and Zoning Committee to order. This meeting will be conducted in the same manner as the applications heard by the Board of Adjustment. Please remember to keep your comments brief, no more than 5 minutes, and relative to the matter at hand. Anyone other than the applicant or their representative wishing to speak at this hearing must have registered. Anyone who has not should do so immediately and submit the registration slip here to the zoning administrator. The committee has looked at all the properties and the record will reflect these observations. Following the public hearing, the committee will conduct their monthly business meeting, at which time we will vote on the applications. You may stay and hear how the applications are decided, or you may leave following the public hearing. Any person affected by an administrative decision of this committee has 10 days from the filing of tonight's decision to file an appeal. Such appeals are heard by the Waushara County Board of Adjustment. Information and applications are available from the county zoning office. The county assumes no liability and makes no warranty as to the legality of any construction commenced prior to the expiration of this 10-day period. I will now introduce the committee. Opposite of me, I have Robert Wadel, Patrick King, John Van Amerongen, Bart Peterson, myself, Dave Bossard, zoning administrator Todd Waller, and Becky Hubach acting as secretary. First on our public hearing, we have a zone change for the Goldner Family Retreat LLC of Machesney Park, Illinois. They've made an application for a zone change in accordance with sections 58-131 through 58-138, 58-361, and 58-541 of the Waushara County zoning code to rezone a 0.96 acre from OP Parks and Recreation to RS20 residential single family, and to rezone 0.12 acres from RS20 to OP to construct an approximate 50 by 234 foot, 2-story, 11-bedroom, single-family dwelling. Location, an approximate 17-acre parcel of land known as part of Government Lot 4, except Lot 1 of Certified Survey Map 6967, Section 2, Town 19 North, Range 11 East, Town of Mount Morris, Scout Lane. Is the applicant or the representatives present? If you come forward. All right, we're just addressing the zone change at this point. So if you could just let us know what the intent and what the purpose of the project for this rezoning is.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm Chad Fredette with Evergreen Consultants. I did an environmental impact study on this property. We have representatives from Excel Engineering who worked on the project, Dustin Salter, and we have Wisconsin Log Homes. I will let them introduce themselves. But it might be appropriate for them to start to talk about the home, if that's all right, Todd. And then I can talk about our environmental issues on the property, and then Excel can talk about the engineering they've been doing on the property. Does that sound right, Todd? Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll let Wisconsin Log Homes.
My name is Mike Orr. I'm with Wisconsin Log Homes. I'm a national home consultant for the company. We're located in Green Bay, Wisconsin, and we build homes throughout the state of Wisconsin, and we ship and design packages throughout the United States. I'm joined by Nate Yanchek and Brian Delwich, both with the company. We were contacted by the Goldner Company to build them a home on some property they were in the process of procuring at the time, Boy Scout camp over on Hills Lake. We've designed the home and gone through some of the engineering applications for it. We've also been working with Chad regarding environmental and Excel engineering as far as the zoning is a requirement for the property. So with that, I'll hand it back to Chad unless you need to hear anything more from us.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So we were hired to look originally at wetlands on the property. And then when we find out the scope of the project, it's a very large home, so that's going to have an impact that's greater than 1 acre of disturbance. So that incurs other things such as the DNR stormwater erosion control permit. And within that permit, you have to look at several things. So we looked at cultural resources on the property. We had UW Milwaukee come up because there is a recorded archaeological site right within the footprint of the home. We had them test 144 test pits and they found no evidence of the archaeological site. We suspect it's higher up on the hillside than in between the lakes. It's more overlooking the lakes. So we'll have them back out in a couple of weeks to take a look at the driveway for the property to make sure we don't impact any archaeological sites. We did look at the water resources on the property. It's in between Napa One and Hills Lake, of course, and then we have shallow groundwater as well near the lake. So we took a look at those impacts and we made recommendations on that, and I'll get to those. We looked at wetlands on the property on a DNR assured wetland delineator. We did find 3 wetlands near the project. We have 2 ephemeral ponds, which are important for amphibians, such as salamanders and frogs. There's one north of the home, there's one south of the home. And then we found a large sedge wet meadow directly adjacent that connects to Napa One Lake. We did look at invasive species in property, which are a number of invasive species, such as the 2 buckthorn species, honeysuckle, Oriental bittersweet. The wetlands have both buckthorn and reed canary grass. There's a number of that along the lake shores and the wetlands. We looked at the use of wildlife through the corridor, and there is some use between the lakes, but a lot of the wildlife tend to stick to the lake shore and the edge of wetlands. We looked at how the home could affect these resources, and so we came up with some recommendations on each. The ephemeral ponds, we said that they should not impact the watershed of the ephemeral ponds. They sit more in bowls or kettles, and they should not take the canopy down around these wetlands. So we recommended that they shift the home more to the north, and that required more of the rezone. So that's part of the reason. And you were all out there yesterday. You see there's a high hill, and that's part of the watershed of the southern ephemeral pond. So we wanted to back off the high hill more towards the beach to stay out of that watershed of the wetland. By moving the home more to the north, we could have an impact on the sedge wet meadow that's to the east. So we recommend that we keep the 50-foot setback that the county has, but within that 50-foot setback and within the wetland to do some wetland restoration work. We are applying for a DNR wetland enhancement permit. We'll remove all the invasive species, try to get some native vegetation back in there, and then either do some scrapes or reed canary grass removal within the wetland itself, as well as removal of all the buckthorn within those areas. In the lakeshore, because of the two lakes and their proximity to them, we recommend that they reduce phosphorus use, so no fertilizers with phosphorus in that, and that they remove invasive species as much as they can within the area within 300 feet of the home. The wetlands, we recommend you remove invasive species. Archaeology, we just recommend that we look at the driveway impact. And then we do have species of concern out there, such as the carnival butterfly. We'll make sure that we survey the area of the lupine and do restoration work on that if there is an impact. The DNR did grant an exemption for that under federal law, but we're still going to do our due diligence and making sure we don't impact that species. We did recommend full stormwater infiltration so that we are not impacting the wetlands further or the lakes with any sediment, and Excel will talk about that. We also recommended that they use private on-site water treatment system with pre-treatment, such as an algae, so that they're actually cleaner water from the septic system. And then we recommended to get the 2 permits, the stormwater and the wetland enhancement permit. And I'll turn it over to Dustin from Excel, who will walk through the engineering for the site. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Dustin Salter with Excel Engineering. So I'm a civil engineer at Excel. Excel was contracted to do the civil engineering design as well as the structural engineering design for the home. So for the civil engineering aspect, a lot of what Chad talked about, water resources, stuff like that, what we're really looking to do is have a design that's cohesive with, you know, obviously understanding that there's the 2 watersheds with the 2 lakes there, and just making sure we're meeting all the state stormwater management requirements as well as the county shoreline zoning requirements. So what we're doing is we're essentially routing all of the hard surface, you know, impervious areas on the project to localized stormwater detention and filtration basins, and those will serve to meet essentially state DNR code for that. And then yeah, our structural engineers are also taking a look at the home foundation design, things like that, just making sure we account for all aspects of it, you know, from design through construction. So yeah, if there's any questions or anything like that relating to the civil engineering, you know, happy to answer any of that.
Any committee member have any questions for the team? All right, you guys can take a seat. Then if you need a rebuttal, we'll give you the opportunity for that. Any correspondence?
So with regard to the correspondence, I did distribute to you in your packets the minutes from previously held Mount Morris Land Use Committee meetings. I'm also, when I give my staff comments, I'll kind of touch base on those and talk a little bit more in greater detail.
All right, thank you.
Yep, okay. So I do have a few people registered to speak. The first one, I have to ask a question. Mary Cron, you did not list what, do you speak in favor, opposition, or informational?
Either. I didn't know what they
Information.
introduced. I just wanted to hear.
Mary, do you wish to come up to the, okay. I've got Jeanette, is it Gusson? Jeanette registered only in opposition. I got Ann Funtner, appear to speak for informational only.
Pronounces that correctly.
Did I just, did I?
If needed, if I felt the need to speak, informational reasons only, and at the present moment, I do not.
Okay. And last, I have Mary Wisher, appear to speak for informational only.
Yes, please.
Thank you. I'm Mary Wixer, and my husband and I live right next to the property on Napawan, like the southern edge that abuts the Boy Scout camp. So I wondered, besides the main house, can any other dwellings be put on any other portion? You know what I mean? We haven't been able to see what's going on. I'm not in opposition. I just would like to know what's next to me. And especially there's a tiny triangular parcel that's like right next to my property. So is something going planned? Can something be built there? You know, that's my general question.
Answer, please. So county code, and that only allows one principal structure on the lot. So at the present time, and I'm going to say at the present time, there's only this development that's going to occur on that isthmus. Nothing else to the west, or I should say to the south. I will talk about it. The owners of the property have offered a conservation easement and deed restriction on the balance of the property. I understand that they're talking about taking down, I believe, the old ranger station and one of the other structures.
Yes.
I think where the old mess hall was, or the cafeteria. That's probably going to be upgraded and going to be a structure, an accessory structure.
That's way over on the other side of the lake, though, I believe.
Correct. Right. But the conservation easement will restrict development, future development on that property.
That's my own question. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. And that's all I have for
Staff comments?
okay. If I could, I'm going to kind of give a little history here in terms of the property itself, and then what has transpired to get us to where we are today. The site in question, you all know, is part of an isthmus that's located between Big Hills Lake and Lake Napawan on what was originally the western undeveloped half of Getaway Homes Campground, also formerly Camp Napawan. As you're aware, Getaway Homes actually established their campground on the east side of 24th with 40 small semi-permanent glamping units, but they never extended their property or their development onto the west. This property has since been purchased by the Goldner family. They're from Mackenzie Park, Illinois, with the sole intent of establishing a family retreat upon the property. The property, and that you should have in your packets, the property in question actually has a couple different zoning classifications on it. It has both RS20 single family zoning, and it also has OP open space parks on a balance. The Goldners originally approached the Mount Morris Land Use Committee on January 2nd of 2025 with the plan of putting the house closer down towards the beach as we were all out there. However, that was a very, very sensitive area, and it was actually prone to a breach of flooding back in 2019, 2020 during the flooding period. And as a result, the committee actually tabled the recommendation or tabled any future recommendation and asked that the development team and the Goldners look at pushing that house further up the hill, get it away from the sensitive area, while still being sensitive to the lake and also being sensitive to the large wetland that was there. The Goldners, I guess, circled the wagons with the development team, came back in February of 2025 with a plan that was revised to reflect earlier committee comments. They had minimized the area being sought for a zone change, and at that time also offered the town a conservancy easement and deed restriction on the balance of the property. As a result, on February 18th, 2025, the Land Use Committee unanimously recommended that the development move onward to the county as they felt that the revised plans reflected the town's interests. Now, obviously, with this home straddling two different zoning classifications and that being minimized, they are still asking for a small portion of the RS20 to be pushed northerly. And they're asking for that property, about 0.96 acres, be rezoned from OP to RS20. And also just to help further the preservation of an existing wetland, there's a small little triangular section, 0.12 acres, they're seeking to rezone from RS20 and give that back to OP parks. So that would help, you know, preserve the nature of the wetlands. The committee visited the property at the recent onsite on Wednesday, April 9th, and were generally supportive of the requests for both the conditional use and the zone change. They felt that despite the size of the home, they felt the applicant had taken the sensitivity of the site into consideration and craftfully situated the home to minimize disturbances upon the wetland and the shores of Big Hills Lakes. Staff too has reviewed this request and believes that development for the site for a lone single-family residence, despite its size, is in keeping with the comprehensive plan and in keeping with the surrounding land uses. Staff also believes the applicant has gone to great lengths to preserve and protect the existing wetlands and has put measures in place to control and restrict development on the balance of the property. While the committee will be making a recommendation on this request and that of a conditional use a little bit later, we are recommending approval of the zone change as noted in your report.
Thank you. Does the applicant or their representatives feel any need to rebut anything that was mentioned during that or answer any questions that were posed?
I do have just some additional. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to give a thanks to Todd for a lot of good discussions we had, which helped us make a better plan. I just want to address the conservation easement. The town does have the first draft and waiting on their comments. The town did make that their approval conditional upon getting that completed. Very happy that the family has done that. And I just wanted about the flooding issue. That was one thing we didn't know about. So thanks again to Todd for bringing that up. And I just wanted Dustin to talk about how they designed through that to take care of that issue.
Yeah, so I can kind of speak to, I guess, how we kind of set the balance of the home in terms of, you know, the first floor elevation as well as the basement elevation. So what we did was, you know, there was mention of previous historic flooding going from Hills Lake over to the other lake to the east there. And what we did was we kind of took a look at the low point on the property and obviously maintain that low point drainage through there in the event that that were ever to happen again, that would be maintained. And then we took the basement finished floor elevation and we elevated it about between 2 to 3 feet from, you know, that lower elevation, just to make sure that the home is protected from flooding. And then, you know, that kind of starts your elevation and that sets your, you know, your subfloor elevation for the house. So that's kind of how we landed on that for a balance.
Thank you. And one other thing too, with regard to, you know, that area there, while it was sensitive to, you know, or I should say, while it was prone to flooding, the floodplain actually doesn't even exist over there. The floodplain is actually over back by the wetlands on Lake Napawan.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, we're not impacting any sort of floodplain or anything like that with what we're doing here, so.
Yep. Thank you.
Next on the public hearing agenda is the Goldner Family Retreat LLC of McChesney Park, Illinois has made an application for a conditional use in accordance with section 58-903, paragraph B, paragraph 3 of the Waushara County zoning code for filling and grading in excess of 10,000 square feet within the shoreland area in the RS20 residential single-family zone. Location is an approximate 17-acre parcel of land known as part of government lot 4, except lot 1 of CSM 6967 in section 2, township 19 north, range 11 east, town of Mount Morris, Scout Lane. And again, if you guys gentlemen would come on up and let us know any additional information you would like us to know in regards to the conditional use application now. Do you have
anything additional?
Okay. Okay. All right. Thank you. Any correspondence on this aspect?
The correspondence, I believe, was read into the record.
All right.
Already.
And all the speaking was done? All right, then, staff comments?
Okay, and once again, everyone should have a copy of the conditional use staff report. And I'll keep my presentation here very brief. Obviously, given a home of this size, there's going to be considerable grading. Given the fact that the property is a shoreline property, is situated within 300 feet of an ordinary high water mark, per code, a conditional use is required as the grading and filling will exceed 10,000 square feet. As illustrated in attached drawings, and this was my approximation, I believe it's actually a little bit higher, but there will be a disturbance of approximately 90,000 square feet of land that will be disturbed. Should be noted, though, that all grading and filling will occur outside of the required 35-foot shoreline buffer, which is our no-touch zone, and it also be outside of any and all wetlands. The applicant, and I'd like to point out, will also be installing stormwater devices, rain gardens, and bio-infiltration basins to control the stormwater runoff. I did have my land conservation personnel run some quick numbers, and the basins are of adequate size for a single-year storm event and will protect adjacent waters and wetlands from stormwater runoff and erosion. Keep that in mind, though, that the applicant will have to submit detailed drawings to the DNR for formal approval as the development is in excess of 1 acre. Once again, staff has reviewed this request, and similar to the zone change, is supportive, as we believe it is consistent with the comprehensive plan, and also has the blessing of the town.
Thank you. Gentlemen, feel any rebuttal is necessary to anything mentioned?
No, Todd did good.
All right, thank you. And last on our public hearing, we have Kenneth Reggie of Nishkora, Wisconsin, has made an application for a conditional use in accordance with section 58-664, paragraph 2 of the Waushara County zoning code to conditionally establish a generator sales and service business for homes and motorhomes in an existing 45 by 135 foot commercial building located in a CG general commercial zone. Location is a 3.7 acre parcel of land that is part of the northwest quarter of the northwest quarter, part of Lot 1, Certified Survey Map 2308, in Section 1, Township 18 North, Range 10 East, Town of Dakota, W7627, State Road 21 and 73. Is the applicant or their representative present, and if they would come forward? Give us a synopsis of what you're planning to do on this property.
Ken Reggie, open a core business for home generator systems and RV generator repair replacement service out of the old Monument building is here in town. I got a contract with U-Haul to become a U-Haul rental place as well, because the one in town is no longer here. And I have a in the works of selling compact tractors for a village tractor out of Bindable as well.
All right. Any committee members have questions for Mr. Reggie? Seeing none. All right, you can have a seat and give you an opportunity for rebuttal. Any correspondence?
Yeah, I do have one correspondence. Randy Mole, registered to speak in favor.
Hi, my name is Randy Mall. I'm at 7648 Highway 2173. I'm directly across the property that Kenneth wants to bring the generator sales into. I have no problem with any type of generator sales or any type of business that's located anywhere on 21. The only problem I've had is that I've lived there for 15 years, and the last people that were there had a very bright light that they ran throughout the night. and it was in my bedroom window for most of it. I appealed to that gentleman more than once, but I didn't get anywhere because I understand there's not really an ordinance for noise or light anywhere on 21. I'm here today to just say, while I have no problems with any type of business, I would like people to please understand that there's still people there that are living there, and we're just trying to live there too. So I just want people to understand that, and I hope Kenneth understands that as well. So that's all I'm asking for today. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, staff comments?
Okay, and once again, kind of keep my comments here rather brief. County maintains very little information on the construction of the original building as it predates county zoning. County has issued several land use permits between 1991 and 2002. However, throughout the years, even though there have been various automotive uses within that building, hence the auto sales and the cover up on top of the roof, there has never been a conditional use officially granted for this property. Zoning office felt at this time, given this request, it's well overdue for compliance with any and all zoning codes. And as a result, the applicant is now seeking a conditional use for the generator sales and service operation. I did go out to the property and took some photos. As you can see, there's a picture of the actual facility, and then views west, views north, and views east. We felt that as evidence from the photos and real world conditions in the field, that commercial uses such as sales and service of equipment, automobiles and marine vehicles are quite common up and down this section of State Route 2173. The one thing though that I would like to discuss is just briefly is the operation of a U-Haul rental business. Is that obviously this committee will be making a recommendation on this later in the evening. Staff is recommending approval of the conditional use for the generator sales and service buildings, service business. We should amend that though to also include operation of a U-Haul and rental business should a recommendation for approval forward. And that's all I have.
All right, thank you. Ken, do you feel any need for any rebuttal? What was mentioned? All right. With that, then we will end the public hearing portion of this meeting, and we will go into our business meeting. So roll call will show that we're all present. Gentlemen, you've been provided the agenda. I'll entertain a motion to approve that.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Robert. Wait a second. I'll second. Second by Bart. All in favor? Aye. All right. You're provided a copy of the minutes from yesterday's meeting. Any questions on that, or I'll entertain a motion to approve? Motion by Pat. With a second?
Second.
Second by Robert. All in favor? Aye. Motion minutes approved. Do we have any unfinished business? We have none. No unfinished business. Action on public hearing applications. First application that we had was for the rezoning for the Gallner property. Do we have a motion? Motion to approve. Motion by John. Do we have a second? John, with that, would you give us your reasons for approval?
We got the zoning change request.
The zoning change request, yes.
Possible approval reason. Are we on here?
Yep.
Possible approval reasons, request of the application if approval will be consistent with the spirit and the intent of the zoning code and will not be contrary to the public interest.
John, your microphone's not on.
Here. Here we go.
We got a
You can
bad
plug
bad.
that in the back.
If approved, will be consistent with the spirit and the intent of zoning code and will not be contrary to the public interest because, and on to number one, after reviewing the application and considering all related testimony, the application, if approved with conditions, will not harm the public or the neighboring land uses plural. The testimony in opposition has been considered, but with reasonable conditions, the legitimate issue and concerns can be addressed and the impacts on neighboring properties minimized. Erosion control and stormwater management plans should address any issues that might arise during construction. The proposal matches the goals of the zone and provides a suitable area for residential development. It is up to the town's planning commission and the town board to determine whether this proposal is in compliance with the town's approved land use plan.
Thank you. And Bart, would you please read for us the possible approval conditions?
Therefore, the requested application, if approved, the following conditions shall apply. Development must be in substantial compliance with the site plan and testimony provided at the public hearing. All other required setbacks and all other codes must be complied with. All permits must be obtained, including land use, building, and sanitary. Adequate parking must be provided. Prior to the issuance of a land use permit, the applicant shall submit and record a conservancy easement and deed restriction on the balance of the property. Said easement restriction shall be in an applicable form, in an acceptable form to the town of Mount Morris. Copies shall be forwarded to the county zoning office. Any and all structures, including retaining walls, shall be set back a minimum of 50 feet from adjacent wetlands. Grading and filling within 35 feet of the ordinary high water mark of Big Hills Lake is strictly prohibited. All accessory structures shall be at a minimum height of 18 feet and shall comply with second story storage requirements per 58-232. The principal structure shall be a minimum height of 35 feet. Maximum height of 35 feet. The driveway shall meet all required codes, including fire and access code requirements to provide for access by emergency vehicles. In addition, the driveway shall provide good visibility and a turnaround area to prevent from backing into the road. The applicant will allow agents of Waushara County access to the property to ensure compliance with all applicable regulations. The filling and grading shall be done in accordance with the erosion control plan, filling and grading plans, and additional information provided to the public hearing. The applicant will allow agents of Waushara County access to the property to ensure compliance with all applicable regulations. The applicant is responsible for contacting the DNR regarding stormwater and erosion control permits that will be required. Copies of all permits shall be submitted to the zoning office. The application is now forwarded to the Waushara County Board of Supervisors and the Town Board of Mount Morris for their consideration. The town board is responsible for determining whether this application, if approved, is in compliance with the town's approval land use plan.
All right, then hearing the reasons and conditions, is there any additional discussion? Hearing none, then I will ask for a roll call vote. Robert?
Yes.
Pat?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Bart?
Yes.
And myself, yes. So the zone change has been approved by this board. And then you will move forward to the county board and then also the town board before that takes effect. Next, we will consider the conditional use request for Alex Gollner of the Gollner Family Retreat LLC. Do we have a motion? Motion to approve. Motion by Robert. Second by John. Robert, would you please read for us then the possible approval reasons?
Requested application, if approved, will be consistent with the spirit and intent of the zoning code and will not be contrary to the public interest because After reviewing the application and considering all testimony, the application, if approved with conditions, will not harm the public or neighboring land uses. The testimony in opposition, there was none, I don't think. Erosion control and stormwater management plans should address any future issues. The proposal matches the lot and available area.
Thank you. And John, would you please read the approval conditions?
Therefore, the requested application, if approved, the following conditions shall apply. The development must be in substantial compliance with the site plan and testimony provided at the public hearing. All other required setbacks and all other codes must be complied with. All permits must be obtained, including land use, building, and sanitary. Adequate parking must be provided. Prior to the issuance of the land use permit, the applicant shall submit and record a conservancy easement and deed restrictions on the balance of the property. Said easement restriction shall be in acceptable format to the town of Mount Morris. Copy shall be forwarded to the county zoning office. Any and all structures, including retaining walls, shall be set back a minimum of 50 feet from adjacent wetlands. Grading and filling within 35 feet of ordinary high water mark of Big Hills Lake is strictly prohibited. All accessory structures shall be to a maximum height of 18 feet and shall comply with second story storage requirements per 58-232. The principal structure shall be to maximum height of 35 feet. The driveway shall meet all required codes, including fire and access code requirements to provide for access by emergency vehicles. In addition, the driveway shall provide good visibility and a turnaround area to prevent backing onto the road. The applicant will allow agents of Waushara County access to the property to ensure compliance with all applicable regulations. The filling and grading shall be done in accordance with the erosion control plan, filling and grading plans, and additional information provided at the public hearing. The applicant will allow agents of Waushara County access to the property to ensure compliance with all applicable regulations. The applicant is responsible for contacting the DNR regarding stormwater and erosion control permits that will be required. Copies of all permits shall be submitted to the zoning office.
Thank you. So hearing the reasons and conditions, is there any additional discussion? Hearing none, I will ask for a roll call vote. Robert?
Yes.
Pat?
Yes.
John?
Approved.
Art?
Yes.
And myself approve. Congratulations. Conditional uses passed.
One question, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Thank you all very much for that. Mr. Chairman, just a question procedurally. The town board approved their rezone contingent on the conservation easement and county board approval. So after you receive county board approval, should we receive that? What is the process the town needs to do for you?
So we just submit a formal document over to the town, and the town will actually prepare a resolution. They sign off on it, and it's a three-phase process. Even though they've already given you the approvals, once again, it's just a formality.
Okay, so no formal meeting, they just need to sign off. And I also want to say to you, very well-run committee. This is very nice. This is different than a lot of other counties run their land use committee. So thank you very much for that.
Thank you. And finally, gentlemen, we've got the Kenneth Reggie of the Shkoro conditional use request. Do we have a motion for that?
Move to approve.
Motion by John. Second by Robert. John, would you read for us the reasons for approval? Let's see. Hold on.
The possible approval reasons requested if the application is approved will be consistent with the spirit and intent of zoning code and will not be contrary to the public interest because, and then we'll start. After reviewing the application and considering of all related testimony, the application, if approved with conditions, will not harm the public or the neighboring land uses. Testimony in opposition has been considered. There was no opposition, I don't believe. Proposal matches a lot and available size.
And then, Robert, would you please read for us the possible approval conditions?
Therefore, the requested application, if approved, the following conditions shall apply. The development must be in substantial compliance with the site plan and testimony provided at the public hearing. All other required setbacks and all other codes must be complied with. All permits must be obtained, including land use and building if alterations are anticipated. The applicant is responsible for contacting the building inspector regarding the applicability of commercial building codes if necessary. Adequate parking must be provided. The driveway shall provide good visibility and turnaround area to prevent backing onto the road. The applicant will allow agents of Waushara County access to the property to ensure compliance with all applicable regulations. The applicant is responsible for complying with any other applicable regulations, including any Wisconsin DNR or DATCAP licensing and codes, and shall operate the premises in accordance with those regulations and abide by all applicable safety rules. All advertising signs must be in accordance with all county and state requirements. Property must be kept in a neat and orderly manner at all times. Exterior and or open storage of parts and materials is strictly prohibited.
All right, thank you. And then just to reiterate that this will be amended to include the use for the U-Haul rental. All right. And so hearing the reasons and conditions, is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll ask for a roll call vote. Robert?
Yes.
Pat?
Yes.
John? Approved. Bart?
Yes.
And myself approved. Congratulations with that approval of your conditional use permit. Next on our agenda, we have review of possible action on requests for extensions of any land use permits. We have none. All right, review of minor changes, requests on previously approved public hearing applications. We have none as well. And then the review of next month's public hearing applications for time and route planning purposes. We have one conditional use presently. The deadline is the 16th. So, and given the fact that we've got 4 variances, Becky and I tomorrow will debate whether or not we may close the hearing just so that it doesn't run too late. So, all right. And then next, zoning administrator and financial report. So I did put at the back of your packets another copy of my staff report, just showing you the permit activity to date. And then also just to give you some updates on Laura Johnson with her retirement. And then also the status of excuse me, a couple of court cases that we have presently going on, Project Harmony. With the conditional use for the motel hotel. We did provide a rebuttal back with regard to the plaintiff's, his original brief. And right now we have a motion hearing scheduled for May 16th at 9 a.m. Via Zoom. And Dave, I believe I gave you a copy of that just in case. Yes, I appreciate it. Thank you. And the other one is just some updates on the Board of Adjustments, recent court appeals. And that's it. And then just, we have a Youth and Government Day is coming up here at the end of the month. All right. With that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
And second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned. Thank you. Yes, I got that too. Okay, something. So I should go just to be in the loop. Yeah, just, you know, I just been to Ruth's office and, you know, she basically does the Zoom meeting that I just go up there just in case there's a question, if she has a question for us. And then